Hello everybody, and welcome to MapTalk on VRT. If you're new to MapTalk, well, it's simple. We talk about maps, and the many interesting places out there in the world. Today, we'll be exploring some of the world's volcanoes, specifically ones that have had the world's largest eruptions in the recent past. Each of these places has seen unimaginable destruction, and still shows some of the obvious scars even to this day. But before we get started, just want to remind you to smash that like button, yes, smash it indeed, and subscribe and share this video out with all your friends and everything. I really appreciate everybody who does that, and yeah, thank you for that. So let's get started. Our first stop will be here in the northwestern United States, home of the Cascade Range and its many volcanoes. Now, throughout history and prehistory, there have been many cataclysmic eruptions in this area. One of which, though, has happened in the recent past, and that, of course, is Mount St. Helens, here. Prior to its eruption, it was a pinnacle peak. Photos from the recent past show a perfect conical shape capped with snow, a subject for many artists of the era. All that changed on May 18, 1980, when an earthquake triggered a massive lateral eruption that destroyed the northern face of the mountain and reduced its elevation by more than 4,000 feet. The eruption devastated the area, producing pyroclastic flows and lahars that reached miles, and as you can see here, the terrain has not recovered. It looks almost moon-like, in my opinion, and just shows the devastation that even a relatively small eruption, which Mount St. Helens was, can bring. So, interesting, Spirit Lake here was the site of a mega tsunami, actually, as the debris from the eruption hit the southern end and pushed all the water north, creating technically a mega tsunami within the lake. Our second stop is actually going to be way up here, even further to the northwest in Alaska, and site of the 20th century's largest volcanic eruption, here at Nova Rupta on the Mount Katmai Massif. In the summer of 1912, a massive eruption rating 6 on the VEI scale, the Volcanic Explosive Index scale in case you're wondering, rattled the area and left an obvious scar behind. This is a classic caldera where the magma chamber underneath evacuates itself basically during the eruption, and the mountain collapses in on itself and is usually filled in by water, creating a lake. And that's how you get a caldera, and that's a telltale sign of a volcanic eruption, a large one, in the past, and we're going to see that a lot as we move on here. Now, let's head to the other side of the Pacific, to the site of another recent eruption, which occurred in 1991 here in the Philippines. On June 15th of that year, Mount Pinatubo erupted with a volcanic index of 6, causing devastation and loss of life on the island of Luzon. Along with the localized damage, the volcano spewed an estimated 1.2 miles of cubic dust, rock, and ash into the atmosphere, spreading around the globe. This had an effect on global weather, to the point where temperatures in the next year dropped by almost a full degree on average around the world, which is very significant. Now, I actually remember this, not personally of course, but when I was a kid I remember the news about this volcanic eruption, and I think I do vaguely remember the temperatures were a little bit lowered that summer. We did see a small effect in my area, if I recall correctly. It was a while ago. As you can see, there's still plenty of scars from the eruption back then. You can see these are lahar flows coming down the side of the mountain. Very interesting there. So, and of course, a caldera with a lake. Lake Pinatubo, I'm guessing it's called. So, let's head on now further into Southeast Asia, and we're going to go back in time and see some really big eruptions. Indonesia has had some of the largest volcanic eruptions in all of recent history. The first one we're going to check out is right here, Krakatoa, located between the major islands of Sumatra and Java. It was once a single island, a conical peak rising from the sea, with villages dotting the shore. Then, throughout the summer of 1883, Krakatoa released a series of eruptions, culminating on August 27th of that year, when the mountain released 4 massive explosions, the loudest sounds ever heard by humans, heard as far away as Perth, Australia, and the island of Mauritius. The island then collapsed, sinking into the sea, releasing a massive tsunami, devastating the shores of nearby islands. After the eruption, there are these 3 islands you see here. These are the remnants of what was left. And a new island has formed in the middle, which is the volcano once again rising from the sea. You can see all the sediment here to the southwest, and a caldera, classic caldera formed here, as the magma chamber underneath begins to well up once again. And one day in the distant future, long after we're all gone, there will be another mountain again rising from the sea. That's how these things work in cycles. By the way, the volcano is still active today, obviously, and erupts spectacularly, especially at night. It looks amazing. Now, if we head a little further back in time, and a little bit to the east, we get to recorded history's largest volcanic eruption. In 1815, Mount Tambora, located here on the island of Sumbawa in Indonesia, erupted with a VEI index of 7, the largest volcanic eruption of the last 10,000 years. 4 to 10 times as powerful as Krakatoa, it ejected an estimated 24 cubic miles of earth into the atmosphere, leaving behind this massive caldera you see here today, which is evidence of the power of the eruption. Covering the nearby islands in a thick layer of ash, it sent enough dust into the atmosphere to change the global climate, causing the famous Year Without a Summer in 1816. An estimated 71,000 people were killed, and this was at a time when the population of the region was a fraction of what it is today. For reference, to the west, the island of Java is the most populated island in the world, so any eruption in this area would be quite devastating. Now, I have a few honorable mentions here as we wrap up, and so far we've been looking at volcanoes, but did you know there are super volcanoes? Yes, there are. And these are the big boys that can rate 8 on the VEI scale. Yes, there's an 8 on the VEI scale. And it only happens every few million years. It's very rare. The last one to happen happened here, also in Indonesia, of course. This is Lake Toba, which is the site of a supervolcano. 73,000 years ago, there was a massive eruption here, creating what is essentially a caldera. Well, not essentially, it is. Filled by Lake Toba. And this island you see here is the land rising again from the magma underneath. Quite fascinating. This probably won't erupt for a very long time again, but when it does, oh boy, watch out. Of course, another one that is probably a little bit more known is right here in the good old US of A, and that would be the Yellowstone supervolcano, which isn't quite as evident, but Yellowstone Lake and the depression here is essentially the caldera, as the hotspot underneath, the Yellowstone hotspot, moves from west to east over time. So, very interesting there. So our last stop is going to be at a place you may have heard of in the news recently. Back in January, I believe January 15th to be exact, the tiny island of Hungatunga, here in the island nation of Tonga, had what is so far the 21st century's largest eruption, most likely rated about a VEI 5 on the scale. This tiny island here, and as we zoom in you can see the actual eruption from satellite photo, very interesting. Most likely destroyed the entire island. I'm guessing there's very little left here, and caused quite a tsunami that actually caused some pretty extensive damage to the capital here in Tonga, to the south, as well as other nearby islands. So I guess this just shows that even today, volcanic eruptions take place, and they always will. The Earth is dynamic and always changing, and we're just along for the ride. How about that, huh? So that's going to do it for this episode of Map Talk. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed the extra visuals I put in. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And thanks to all my subscribers. You guys are awesome. And if you're new to the channel, hey, maybe consider subscribing today. That would be awesome. I really, really do appreciate that. I'm going to be back with more Map Talk episodes soon on possibly some more volcanoes and some other of the various plethora of topics out there in the world we can cover on maps. So once again, thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all the usual. And yeah, until next time, enjoy the ride. I'll see you then.